Welcome in to the Week 4 recap. Wow, what a set of games we had. We will start with the Battle of Waterloo, where one Taylor Elgersma continued his hot streak. Before we start that, flying solo today, next week, probably the week after, as Connor gets adjusted to life at basic training. Officer O'Neill, don't worry, I'll still hold his points with us as we go. But the Laurier Golden Hawks, what a start. This game was 23-0 after the first quarter. And a lot of this was Taylor Elgersma doing what he does best. Oh, not only was it 23-0, they scored right away in the second quarter. So Elgersma letting his playmakers, as we talked about in the season preview with him, distribute the ball, let your playmakers make plays for you. And Jace Atkinson, 62-yarder. Tanner Nelms on a screen pass, 29 yards. Ojutaleo, 25-yarder, where he broke 5 tackles, I believe. This Laurier team started clicking early, and once you get up, Brubaker and that defensive line can pin back their ears. It was quickly over for the Waterloo Warriors. Nick Orr, 24-37, 282, an interception, but he did have a rushing touchdown. In this one, it's tough for the Waterloo Warriors to fall behind and really lean on the ground game that they have been so reliant on. Miller and Springer combined for 23 carries, but when Taylor Elgersma is perfect passer rating for yet another week, I think this is like his second or third time he's done it this year. But 20 of 27, 318, 5 more touchdowns. Can he be stopped? At this point, the Laurier Golden Hawks gunslinger is looking to be the Heck Crichton finalist from the OUA. Mind you, there are some damn good players that are going to be pushing him the rest of this year. But at the rate he's been slinging the ball the last couple games, I know you can't have 5+ touchdowns every game, but it's looking pretty easy for the Golden Hawks quarterback as he's throwing to guys like Ethan Jordan, Raiden Thorne. They only had 3 catches each this game, but the damage was done all over the field. Lots of receivers involved in the action for this one. Side note, Ethan Gregoricic, the rookie linebacker, another interception. This one was, I think, on his own goal line. He was phenomenal in this game as well. I'm really impressed with this rookie linebacker, and to have him and Ife Onyemanum, 7.5, 8.5 tackles each. The two of them, as Ife kind of finishes his career with Laurier, bringing Ethan up as the next great linebacker that this team is going to seemingly have for 4 years. Gregoricic has looked phenomenal in every asset of the game this year. Excited to see what he gets to do as the season progresses. But for those young Laurier Golden Hawks, they picked up a win in their action against the crosstown rivals. Now, we will be kind of moving quicker as Connor and I can't go back and forth, but let's talk about the Carlton Ravens York Lions. 52-0 for the Ravens, picking up their first win of the year. Lefebvre has been slinging the rock this year. 218 yards, 3 touchdowns again this week. They really, really, really hammered home with Hunter Brown. 5 receptions, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kasim Ferdinand, 5 for 62 and a touchdown as well. With this game, Othman Brahm, 5 for 165 and 1 on punt returns alone. We usually end up talking more York Lions in the return game with Alfred Olay and what he's been able to do over the last couple seasons. But Brahm this week, 80-yarder to the house. He really put his offense in fantastic field position every time out. And for the York Lions, Bailey Jupe, 17 of 29. Don't know if Owen Webb went down or was in late. I was at Queens by the time that game was well underway. But this team really struggled to get the run going. 2 carries for their top 3 weapons as well. It was tough sledding for the York Lions against a really good Carlton Ravens defense that has given Western fits for the majority of the game. That gave Laurier really tight contested game. For Carlton going forward, they're putting together a really strong foundation. They're going to start to go on a run here. They play Toronto next, and then they have the Panda game, and then they play Queens, Waterloo, and Guelph. The Panda game, toss your hat up in the air, whatever way it's facing, that's the direction it could go. Against Queens, going to be tougher sledding, but with Toronto and Waterloo and Guelph, this team could be looking at 4 or 5 wins this year and a playoff berth if we're going to be projecting and looking ahead further into the season. But they're really hitting their stride offensively. Defensively, this team has playmakers all over the field. We've talked about it. They are going to be a force. And as teams look for playoff seeding and contention and who's going to sneak into those last couple spots, Carlton is going to be a player down the stretch. So keep an eye on Corey Grant and his Ravens. Next up on the docket, the other Ottawa team. The GGs hosted the Windsor Lancers, and it looked tight-ish. After Amaclar Polk scored his first touchdown, it was going to be a good game. And then all of a sudden it flipped on a dime. Ottawa botched a punt. Windsor takes advantage. And instead of having a stop, a punt, and kind of breathing room, it was, well, they stopped us on the goal line, but we got it right back. Let's score that touchdown. And it was right away. Chris John hits it in. This Windsor team was up by a ton going into the half as they were leading the game 32-10. But Ottawa came back in that second half. Gendron hits the 75-yarder from Matt Mahler. Amaclar Polk rips a 50-yard touchdown. Fair adds a couple field goals, and all of a sudden, whoa, it's a tight game. But Windsor stays the course. I kind of tweeted this out at halftime. This team is built to crush people when they have a lead. And for Windsor to go up by that amount at the half, you're playing right into it. Now, mind you, this extra dimension from Windsor this year that we have not seen in the past couple of years is a high-volume passing attack that's capable of being very efficient. Danny Skelton, 24 of 32, 286, 2 touchdowns, and they were nice ones. One was a seam right down the middle of the hash, back-shouldered, receiver has to make an adjustment to it. The other one was to Nick Reyes, who came back, had to dive for a touchdown against his former team, the GGs. So they were really strong, pointed moments where he's taking chunks out of the field. But this rushing attack was hemmed in for the most part, if you can say 100 yards combined between John and Zorn, hemmed in. But compared to what they have been doing to teams, the Ottawa defense did their part, held the team in. Amaclar Polk, 108 yards, a 49-yard touchdown, another long touchdown in the first half. I think that this team was really built in the GGs with Ben Miracle to make a run and balancing Polk and the big play abilities from the receivers and the stout defense. But as Ryan Lecandro now has another start under his belt, 8 of 20, 2 interceptions, not a whole lot going offensively outside of Polk. And as the Panda comes up, do the GGs look at Matt Mahler, a guy that has played in the Panda game before, or do they stick with Lecandro and say, we're going to ride this out, we trust you, we believe in you, as they kind of search for an answer without Ben Miracle for the rest of this season? We'll see what it looks like, but this team, much like Carlton, founded on their defense. Windsor, meanwhile, don't look now, but they're kind of undefeated at the top of the table. And yes, it's been looking fantastic this year so far, but how is it going to look as we shake out with the rest of the season for Windsor? We don't know. They've got a lot of tough tests coming up. Queens this week, Western the week after, and then Laurier as well. This team is going to go through a gauntlet of 3 of the top teams that they're going to have to worry about this year. And for them, they're feeling confident. They're feeling on the top of the world. If they can finish this stretch of 3 games with 1 loss or no losses, everyone's going to start sweating about that dreaded drive to the end of the 401 for a possible Yates Cup. I don't want to be ahead. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but Windsor is there for real. Danny Skelton, Zorn, John, and a defense that gets after the quarterback. Connor would be all over me if I didn't mention his Windsor Lancers defense. Kolade Amusan, again, keeping up with his sack pace, added another 9-yard sack. They have been phenomenal, pushing teams back, using an aggressive style of defense to really get after teams in the run with run blitzes, but then also forcing them into 2nd and long where they can tee off and say, all right, we're going to sit on our heels, play 0 coverage, send a +1 at you. And if you can beat it, you can beat it. We're going to tackle you before the sticks. But if you can't, it's another momentum building play. It's another big swing for us. We're going to keep building on this. So Connor would be happy I throw in his guy there, Amusan, for the Windsor Lancers. Another game we had, Guelph, Mac. And talking with some people, Mac's high volume passing attack, the question is, can they sustain this? Can they continue to throw the ball at such a rapid pace and not turn it over and be able to succeed and grind teams down? Well, they had 370 yards of total offense. They had 257 passing yards, but they had 2 turnovers and 1 as they were trying to drive for a game-winning score or game-tying score. Keegan Hall, 35 attempts, 27 of them were complete, but 2 of them were intercepted. They did try to run the ball, 17 carries for Braden Kelly. Jackson Cooling, 8 for 91. Jacob Patton, 8 for 76. Those are the guys that they are looking to get involved downfield. But Guelph has found their life. Tristan Aboud, 18 of 24, a touchdown. Marshall McCray, another. Can this guy stop scoring in the red zone? Because it seems anytime they get inside the 10, throw McCray in. He's going to carry the rock. He made a guy miss out of his skates. I think he kind of went to go off tackle, belly back, went, I'm just going to pop it outside. But Marshall McCray, another rushing touchdown for the 2nd string quarterback. Offensively, Navian Malloy, 106 yards. This is what Guelph did in the first game. They controlled the point of attack, and they let Vishon Janusis get involved, 6 for 48 in the touchdown. With Guelph, this is what they're going to have to be with a young quarterback and the defense that they have. Control the pace of play, let Tristan Aboud make some good, easy reads early on and build on it as the game goes, and let Vishon Janusis touch the ball. This guy, Keandre Smith, Kean Schaefer-Baker, Clark Barnes, Vishon Janusis. Keep it going in the list of Guelph Griffin receivers. They're going to be making plays at the next level. This guy is the real deal. They know it. Everyone in the OUA knows it. And it's just a matter of how can they get the ball in his hands creatively. For this game, though, Guelph picked up a must-needed win after last week. They are looking to move on. They've got York. They've got Waterloo. And then they're going to have their bye week. This is a critical point for the Guelph Griffins. Can they get to that 4-win total, that 500 mark, after having such a beatdown from the Laurier Golden Hawks? Because not only does it take a lot to win 4 games in the OUA, but to come back from 60 points being hung on your head mentally. These kids made a statement this week. These student athletes made a statement this week, and they're going to look to build on it as they continue. Time for the game of the week. There's no question about it. It was going in as a 2-time Yates Cup rematch, an Old Four matchup, one of the best rivalries in the OUA. Oh, and 2 of the top quarterbacks. That's always going to give you a treat. Evan Hillock, Alex Freakin. This game was awesome. Through and through. There was mistakes. There was big plays. There was hard hits. There was turnovers. There was a highway robbery at one point from Jackson Finley. And there was drama. the fourth quarter was relatively quiet until the 2-minute mark. Queens forced Western to take a safety. Russell Weir pushes it in from the end zone. Savon Magne-Jones. 13.8 seconds left on the clock. Evan Hillock drops back over the Queens Golden Gales top defender in Ashton Miller-Melanson to his guy. They said, you know what? You guys have a spectacular set of DBs. Vanek, Ashton Miller-Melanson. We have a guy named Savon Magne-Jones who we believe is the fastest player in the OUA. This guy has game-breaking speed. And we're going to let it rip. We just need to get into field goal range, but we need to do it in a hurry. Let's get Savon Magne-Jones going. And they caught Queens in a coverage. I believe they were in a cut coverage, so the halves were high, safety's high. Magne-Jones gets a corner route. Perfect ball placement from Evan Hillock. He breaks a tackle, up the sideline, untouched, and game over. Western walks off with the win. Queens really controlled the pace of play in this one. If you guys look at the time of possession, 34 minutes for Queens, 31 first down to 19 first downs. But the issue comes down to the turnovers. Queens had 2 interceptions. They also had, I believe, a fumble that they coughed up at one point. Evan Hillock had a pick too, but it was honestly one of the most fluky plays I've ever seen. Seth Robertson comes back to make a catch, has the ball between his calves, rolls on his back, the ball pops out, he goes to stand up, it hits his back again, and all of a sudden Keegan Vanek's jumping behind him with the ball and turning it back for another 20 yards. Really, really weird play that really gave Queens life going into the last little bit. But Alex Freakin, 26 of 45. They let him throw the ball because early on the run game was not there. And he moved the ball, 360 yards passing, 1 touchdown. He had a couple scrambles as well and designed runs, QB draws. This game was phenomenal through and through. But that Western defense, gosh darn it. I said it early, Jackson Finley had a highway robbery, 95-yard pick six. Playing at safety this year with Daniel Valente Jr. being gone, Jackson Finley gets to show his athleticism even more than I thought was possible. They have a really strong group of linebackers that's allowed him to kind of bump back and be that rover. But in the red zone, they're trying to run an under route to one of their H-backs. Jackson Finley says, no, thank you. I'm faster. Jumps the route, takes it out of his hands, and speeds his way to the other end of the field. I think at that point in the stadium, everyone thought Queens was going to really tighten it up. At that point, it was coming out of the half. Queens was building some momentum. And all of a sudden it was, oh, wait, Jackson Finley is just going to steal the ball and, crush your hopes and dreams. I really liked what I saw from both teams. This is really back and forth, much like the game was. Keon Edwards had a really solid day rushing, a couple big pops, not much action from Keanu Yazbek this week. But Evan Hillock, not enough can be said about him and his ability to hang in there with pressure, make throws downfield. There was a couple that were deep shots, one to Mohsen Jamal that was really close, another one that was connected but called back. Hillock was on point this game, and he stopped after and said, these are the kind of throws I make. This is what I do. And going back to his time at STM, this is what Hillock does. He wins big games. He wins tight moments, and he leads his team against a defense that, Keon Edwards, 18 for 133. That's a really good stat line. He had a 55-yard run in there. That takes a lot of his yardage and makes it 17 for 80, 78. This Queens defense said, you're not running today. You are not going to beat us the way you have the last 2 Yates Cups. This is going to be on Hillock, and Hillock responded. He said, this is what is going to happen. I'm going to go to my playmakers, Savon, Seth Robertson, Mazzari, Mohsen Jamal, and we're going to move the ball with intermediate passing, some screen game mixed in. It was really efficient. It was really good to watch. When they got the ball, they made it count. They really did capitalize. I really hope we get to see this matchup one more time. I think it would be phenomenal. Mind you, what would happen in a matchup where Queens really went all out to sell out for this run, and Western had to play their very tough defense too to stop Souls, Cesari, and Vreekin and co from moving the ball. Really tightened it up in the red zone when it mattered. But Queens got a lot of yardage, and if some cards were played different, maybe it's a lot more of success in the red zone. We'll have to see if that happens in a rematch if it comes. But Queens 1-2. I think this is their first time under 500 since the COVID break. This team is in unfamiliar territory. Mind you, their two losses were against Laurier, who has looked phenomenal, and the Western Mustangs, who we all know are the reigning Yates Cup champions. That's it for the OUA slate this week. We got another big group of games coming up next week. I will be here to tee them up for you as we go. So stay tuned to the OUA and to CF Perspective. As always, at Wade Zank on social media, at CF Perspective. Hope you guys enjoyed the games as much as I did. Thanks for listening to me go on here about them. We'll see you next week.